What is up, everybody? It's time for another Bases Loaded podcast, the baseball show on Integrity Sports Network, where we have a lot of fun. We work in some baseball news while we're, just kind of going back and forth, talking about whatever around the league. So before we get into everything, got to introduce you all to the fellas, the crew. We got Brutally Honest Sports right here underneath. Got Aaron. Aaron, how you doing tonight?
I'm loving baseball season so far. I'm ready to talk some baseball. Really, I mean that's all. I'm ready for it. I'm raring to go.
All right. What's up, Jory? Then right next to me, we got Wisconsin Sports on the Go. He's a closet Cubs fan. He just doesn't want to.
Closet Cubs fan. Get out of here. Look at all this crap back here, all this Brewers stuff. I do have a Craig Counsell bobblehead. I want to get rid of it, but I can't, right? It's a cool looking bobblehead. I just can't do it. You know what I'm saying? But damn, closet Cubs fan. Are you kidding me right now? Yeah, the Yankees are good too, Kyle, huh? Yanks all the way. Let's go for 28.
I mean, I had to do it. I mean, we usually go through about being a Brewers fan, and Aaron and I happen to pick the Cubs to win that division. It's all good.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I recall.
How are you doing? How are you doing tonight?
Well, I told you guys I'd fix my hair while we were gone, and I couldn't fix it. The shit's just gone. I really thought about going to get a hat, couldn't find one, but hey, and Jory's talking about the Braves now. We got the Braves going on at the bottom. I'm not opposed to the Braves. Braves are cool. We're doing good. 70 degrees up here in Wisconsin. The weather's finally, I'm waiting for next week. It'll probably snow again, but for right now, baseball weather's here.
Right. Yeah. Jory did put that the Braves, yes, they lost to the Mets today. So Frank the Tank, I saw a clip of him. He says he's surprised at how well they're playing right now. So he's in a good place. It's all good.
Did you see him mini golfing? Did you see him mini golfing?
That was hilarious. I did watch
that. I can't stop hitting over the effing edge.
The guy is just living the best life right now.
Just sends a piss missile over the edge, and he's like, okay.
And then, he finally knocks in the putt, and he's still upset because he didn't knock it in. It's just hilarious. He's just a great character.
I thought he was going to throw the club or break the club.
That's what I thought, too. I was like, after that, you have to do something epic, and he just kind of just mumbled to himself and kept it moving. Jory said, by the Mets of all teams, yeah, those plucky New York Mets. You never know what you'll get from them.
Brewers swept him right out of town. That's all I know.
Well, that's when the Mets are bad. They're good now.
As
I just watched the Orioles take the lead on the Red Sox with a home run, so it's all good. It's the bullpen again. What else is new?
Kyle, I couldn't believe that watching that game last night. I was like the Orioles are shot. They looked dead in the water, and then what really surprised me was just all the fielding miscues for the Sox. It just seemed like they couldn't they had butterfingers. I don't know. It just the ball's flying over here. This guy's trying to field it over there. It's just I'm not used to seeing the Red Sox play sloppy. I'll put it that way. Especially in Fenway, going to Fenway, I'm always feel like my team's at a disadvantage. Just playing the Red Sox in Fenway is a different animal, and I don't know. I'm not trying to write off the Red Sox. It was just like how we're talking about the Mets a week ago. We were they're one of the worst teams in baseball. It's such a roller coaster of a season. And day to day, week to week, series to series, things change so fast.
They always were so fundamentally sound, like the Red Sox. And I compare them to with the Cardinals. I hate the Cardinals. I have to hate the Cardinals, but that team they've always been so fundamentally sound. It didn't matter if they brought a new guy in. Their fielding percentage was great. And just to see a team like the Red Sox take such a dive is actually baffling to me, as well as they could suck on offense all they wanted to, but the defense was still good. They were still, battling on the defensive side. Now it's the complete opposite. So it's interesting to see how teams have changed over the years like that.
Yeah, I mean, one, the Story injury completely screws up shortstop because he was actually playing shortstop really well this season. So they're trying to figure that out. Then it's like they're shuffling the outfield. It seems like O'Neal's kind of settled in left. I think Duran is in. Well, Duran's like in center when Raphael is not in, but when Raphael is in, he's over in left, and O'Neal's in right. I just feel like they need to figure out what their positions will be, kind of get comfortable with it. I don't know, like some of them seem like they're playing with some added pressure to themselves because of last season. They just don't want that to happen again. And then at the plate, it's like, no Devers in the lineup tonight. That takes a lot out. No Story, even though he was struggling. It's like O'Neal's like the only legit threat with Costas thrown in there. But like you said, it's still early. Red Sox fans are probably going to write them off by Memorial Day anyway, so they're kind of right on schedule. But they could turn it around. Who knows? But I feel like we could get into our first topic because it's been interesting. Looking at some of these pitchers with their injuries to their shoulder or their elbow and all that, and now we have people trying to blame the pitch clock because I don't know, just because they just introduced the pitch clock, but pitchers have worked quickly before it, necessarily didn't have it happen to them, but now we want to blame the pitch clock. So, I, I mean, I feel like none of us are going to really go down that route of blaming the pitch clock, but like, what do you see as a big factor with a lot of these pitchers getting hurt all of a sudden? Or at least the attention to it, because pitchers did get hurt before, but it's like everybody's like so laser focused on them now. So, what do you think is the biggest factor with all that?
I mean, you've watched over the years the uptick in velocity. Everybody's so like, we got to get faster. We got to get faster. It's just all we have to do. And could that have a factor? I believe so, because when you go to that velocity side of it, the delivery gets messed up, right? You're not as
Mhm.
focused on how is this guy getting the ball to the plate, but how fast can he throw it when he gets it there? And it doesn't matter to a lot of these pitching guys out there anymore. It's just at an early age, right? At an early age, these kids are taught, we want to get you to throw as hard as you can, not correctly, not with the right arm slot, not with the right delivery. And I mean, you look at Devin Williams, just with that back injury that he had. I mean, you're talking about a guy who had a fracture in his back. Like, you don't hear of that. That's something that's odd. That is an odd injury to have. And is that, I mean, the only thing, unless if it was a freak accident, Brewer fans, we never got the answer to what actually happened. But all we can say is, okay, the pitching motion is so violent. Kyle, you and I were talking about golf before with Tiger Woods and how
Yep.
violent a golf swing is. Now, look at a pitcher. When they deliver a baseball, how violent that is on their body, the torque, everything that they have coming forward at this flying motion that it seems like it's unstoppable, right? The only thing that stops you is when you hit the ground. That's what stops you there. So, I mean, a lot of it leads to me going back to these high school guys, these even you can go earlier than that because there's a lot of kids these days who at an early age are being taught, we're teaching you up to get you ready for that next level, for the next level, and they're not being taught the proper things along the way outside of this is how we get you to throw harder. This is how you throw. I mean, you talk about breaking balls. Throwing a breaking ball incorrectly, it might work. It might be this dominant pitch, right? But if you don't throw it correctly, that adds a lot of damage. That can do a lot of damage to your arm, which can lead to problems down the road. You might not see it in your first couple years, right, of throwing that pitch, but down the road, that's when it finally catches up to you. And it's like, oh, my arm starts to hurt. Now I go in. Now I got to get Tommy John's, that kind of thing. It really, I don't know. I take it all the way back to the early ages of these guys and how they're taught mechanically throughout the years, growing, developing, everything like that. They're not looking at the right things. They're not working on the right things from a young age up. And I'm not saying that all guys aren't, right? Sometimes you get a freak accident, like maybe Devin Williams, and that has to do with delivery, but that has to do with mechanics. Now, how does a guy like that come back from that, right? Because if it was his mechanics that did it to Devin Williams, just an example there with Devin Williams, if it was his mechanics, how do you fix that, right? Because you've pitched like this for how long? Now you have to change yourself to try and avoid that injury again. Or you look at a guy like Spencer Strider, or you look at some of these other guys out there in the league. How do you fix yourself so that you can avoid it? I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's the pitch clock because you look at guys like Wade Miley. I mean, last night watching him pitch against the Reds was nuts. He had that pitch was gone with like 12 seconds left on the pitch clock. Like he was, and then you had Brent Suter come out there and he had 13 seconds left on the pitch clock. So guys like that, I mean, they're used to working fast. That's just how they operate. But, you know, it's easier, I believe, to be able to work faster. You can work faster. These guys have done it in their careers. I know it because as a pitcher, I pitched in college a little bit. I pitch slow, I pitch fast. You know, you mix it up along the way when you're going. And I don't believe that it's the pitch clock that's doing it. That's just another excuse for the whole thing. I really think it comes down to mechanics with these guys and the emotion of their body and how they can correct that when they come back now.
Yeah, I mean, like Aaron, what are your thoughts? You like anything you want to add based off of what Trey just said? Because
No,
it just
I
seems like
agree.
it just seems like a lot of players want to blame pitch clock or any rules that they don't like. They want to blame like that for everything, and I get it. You know, some players don't like change, but it's like it speeds up the game and makes more like constant action, and that's what people want. But like, yeah. So, what do you think about the arm injuries and what's the cause?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Trajan said. I mean, it's like the amount of torque and just like he said, violence. I mean, really, it is a violent thing. I've watched so many of these clips of like Trevor Bauer throwing in random. I don't even know where he's at, but like it's almost like when tennis players let out that like groan when they hit the ball. Like it's like that for a pitcher, and like that's just one pitch. And think about the guys that like I was watching Zach Wheeler. He always goes into 90, 100, 110 pitches almost every time he's out there. And I mean, he's throwing upwards of 96, 97, and then he's mixing in a 12-6. And like just the amount of like torque on your arm for a fastball is mesmerizing just because of like how hard these guys throw. Like everybody that comes in the game now out of the bullpen is like you don't see a guy from the bullpen throwing. Like there's very few that throw under 95 anymore. And like there's a couple guys on the Orioles that throw that, but all they do is throw junk like that. You probably saw him the other night, Kyle, is Danny Coulomb. Like he just throws the ball. It's just like throwing the ball sideways. Like you have to be so outside of the box if you're going to fit in as a pitcher. If you don't throw absolute gas, and like Trajan said, I mean, the fact that these guys are brought up to just let's get the ball to the highest velocity we can, and then we'll probably work on your accuracy after that. Like honestly, if you can't get the velocity up to a certain point, you're not going to get looked at. And then I was listening to the Michael K show out of New York the other day, and they were talking about how much these guys throw in the offseason now, and like not to say that your Greg Maddux and all these guys didn't before, but now you're just constantly working your arm. I mean, you don't give it a rest. You're throwing as hard as you possibly can, as many times as you possibly can. I just at the whole thing with like the what was it called, the spider crack or whatever, like that the substance that these guys were putting on their fingers to get more grip. When they really cracked down on that, I almost think that's when a lot of these injuries start happening too. And not to say like we should endorse a substance or we shouldn't, but at the end of the day, like if you're gonna try and get these crazy spin rates and you're gonna try and get this crazy velocity, like I was watching that Orioles Pirates game the other day. I'm shocked no one blew out their arm. It's snowing so hard you can barely see the field. These guys are throwing 96, 97 miles an hour with limited grip, to say the least. And like you're probably moving your arm in a different arm slot just to try and get better grip. Like there's just so much to it, and these guys throw so hard nowadays that I don't necessarily think it's the pitch clock, because we talked about it before. I think it was in the 80s that the game was fast. It still moved faster than it does now, even with all these rule changes and ways that we've tried to speed up the game. The game still moved faster back then. So I just think you're asking a pitcher to do a lot when you're mixing in these crazy knuckleball, curveball, 98 mile per hour fastball. Like at some point something's going to give out. Like it's the human body, and you're putting a lot of stress on these guys' arms, and like, yeah, it's what they sign up for, but when they don't have stuff to then grip the ball as well, it's like, I don't know what else you can really do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the like spider tack, because that was brought up by some players like, oh, they took that away from us. And also, you brought up Cologne. He did just give up the tying home run to Connor Wong. So I just thought you'd like to know that. But I do think like advanced analytics has a big part of this because now every hitter, it's launch angle. That's why you see a lot of hitters that are just home run and strikeout. Well, that's translated to pitchers now having to throw harder to get it past these bats because all they're doing is launching home runs. And then with all these like crazy pitches that like the slurve all of a sudden, like it seems like half the league throws knuckle curves now. Like these are all things that are because of the analytics, like these are what pitchers are coming up with to try to combat these guys that hit 40, 50 home runs. And if you've never seen like Chris Sale or something like watch a slow motion of Chris Sale pitching and the way his arms extended away from his body and just like look at the arm as he's like turning over to throw a fastball or something like it looks like your arm should not be doing that. And for a lot of these guys, they some have relatively healthy careers, but yeah, if you're just going to keep trying to pump in 99, 102, at a certain point, your body's going to be like, all right, we're kind of tired. We've had enough. Because I heard somebody talk about like Verlander, who's a guy who can throw like 100 easily. And he was like, yeah, but Verlander doesn't do that until like late in the game. Early on, he'll throw like 92, 93 because he understands if he locates a pitch correctly, he still will get a strike. He'll get like a fly ball out or something. He can still get you out. He relies on that 102 in key situations. It's not something that he bases his whole pitching arsenal on. And I think like that's where it's kind of getting lost. Like you'll hear some analysts say that guy's a pitcher or he's just a thrower. I feel like you're getting a lot more guys who are just throwers instead of pitchers where change speeds, work different parts of the strike zone. Guys are just rearing back and just launching it and being like, all right, just try to touch it. Well, you kind of get burnt out at that point.
Yeah, the big thing with like drafting guys nowadays is they don't look for guys who are outgetters, which is what you're explaining there is like an outgetter. I want this guy to go out and get me 7 innings, but I don't need 30 strikeouts, right? I just need this guy to go get me outs. Nowadays, when they look for guys, prospects, everything like that, they're looking for guys who are going to strike out. That's all they want. They want strikeout guys. The guys who throw a 102 who are just going to rear back and they're going to K up everybody. They don't want ground balls. They don't want to have to trust the defense. They want them to get the outs themselves. And that goes right along with what you're saying there with the, we want higher velocity. We want, the higher spin rate, like you were saying earlier there, to avoid that kind of thing. So, I mean, that's a big problem. Also, I was just thinking to myself while you guys were talking there, back in the day, there was a lot of multi-sport athletes coming out of like high school and everything like that. Nowadays, there's a lot of guys who just focus on baseball. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. You can just focus on one sport. But if you're a pitcher and all year long, all you're doing is just pitching, well, at some point, like you said there, Kyle, your arm's going to say, we've had enough of this. My body's not ready for all this pressure. But when you played, let's just say you played football, basketball, and baseball in a year, right? You're still working your body in all different facets of sports, but you're not putting so much pressure on it all year long. You can still work on the mechanics in the off season, but you're not putting that kind of pressure on yourself. So I don't know. That was just a thought I had was the lack of multi-sport athletes nowadays where they're so prone on one sport. And that's okay. I'm not saying you can't do that. Mm-hmm. But it's also, could that potentially be a problem now that's leading to some of these problems?
I mean, that's definitely interesting. I mean, I feel like there's like a numerous list of things that could be into it. Like I mentioned Chris Sale. Like if you see Chris Sale, he looks like he weighs about 50 pounds.
Oh, God,
like a strong gust of wind, he looks like he's going to topple over. And the fact that he, with that body, could throw that crazy slider with all that break or throw like 99 up in the zone, it's like, how does he make that happen with that little frame of the body that he has? And like I said, his arm is like way out from his body. Every time I saw him pitch in Boston, I was like, how's his shoulder not giving out? How's the elbow just not flying off of him? Like, I don't know. Maybe there's just like pitching motions are an issue. Who knows? Because I know like Cutter Crawford had Tommy John, and they said that after he had the surgery, he changed his pitching motion, which a lot of people don't do. And I don't know if you saw him, Aaron, when he pitched against the Orioles. It's a funky, pitching motion that he has, where he basically like cocks his arm up and then hides behind his head, and then comes through like that. And apparently, he did that to make it more comfortable on his elbow or something.
And it looks
It
like
looks weird, but yeah.
And like watching him, I'm like, there's no way this guy can throw over 85 miles an hour, and like he obviously does. Like it doesn't even make logical sense. Like, and I'm not taking a shot at him. It's just like I could do that motion 10 million times, and I would not reach 70 miles an hour. Like I don't know, no idea how he does it, but like they're like Tim Lincecum back in the day. I'd watch it, like, because I was a big Tim Lincecum fan, and I'm like, I don't get how this guy throws the way he does. Like it just doesn't make. But like he had that run where he was like one of the top pitchers in baseball, and like he was just unhittable at times. And like his motion, I'm like, dude, there's no way this guy can do this for 10 years. And sure enough, I mean, injuries kind of ended his career early, but like, yeah, Kyle, I mean, that's a great point. It's like you watch some of these guys, it looks like I watched Burns pitch a couple times already, and I'm like, it looks like that guy like doesn't even try to throw hard, but he's throwing like, and he's not throwing as hard as like some guys. Don't get me wrong, but he's still touching mid 90s with like consistency. And then there's other guys. It's like it looks like they're trying to, like Josh Hader. I'm like, dude, this guy's gonna throw the ball through the glove, and like,
oh yeah,
more power to him. Like it's awesome. Like when he's on, it's like I'd be scared to death to face that guy, but. Like with his motion, it kind of reminds you of Sale a little bit. Just like everything's flailing, like everything's just going towards home plate, and that ball's gonna end up somewhere. Like it's just, and hey, it worked. Like in a closing role, I could definitely say it worked. But now, like Kyle and Tragan, I'm sure you guys see it all the time. Like how many of these starting pitchers are throwing 95, 98, 97 for 6 innings? Like that blows my mind. And like you bring up the fact that like Verlander maybe keeps some fuel in the tank till like the 6th, 7th, 8th inning. That's smart. I just don't know if some of these guys can like wrap maybe they think I need to throw harder. I'm not going to be effective. Like it's just, there's so like you said, Kyle, there's so much to it now.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. Like advanced analytics, it's all spin rate, velocity, then hitters. It's all launch angle. That's basically what the games come down to. Even though Greg Maddux would barely touch 90, and that guy was dominant. So you can absolutely do it the other way. It's just that more guys want to be Randy Johnson or Roger Clemens or something. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the league handles it, how players adjust to it, because I'm assuming the pitch clock's not going anywhere. So the more they just complain about it, the more they have to eventually wake up and deal with the fact that there's now a pitch clock. Get used to it.
They'll shorten it before they get rid of it. They'll make it even shorter. They'll give us like 10 seconds. Get in there, get out.
Kind of want to see that for a little bit.
What's that one meme where the guy's pitching and people are just constantly stepping up to the plate, they hit it, and the next guy's just there's a meme out there. I can't remember what's that from. It's from some cartoon. It's going to be exactly like
Bunny.
that. Yeah, Bugs Bunny. That's what it was. It was on that Bugs Bunny. Yep. It's going to be exactly
I
like that.
remember that. Yeah. I remember watching that as a kid. It was really funny. He literally just stood up there and was just like, the next hitter would come up and like the announcer's like rattling through it like he's an auctioneer, and it was hilarious.
They're getting us ready for the pitch clock. They're like, just remember, this is what it's going to be like.
All right, so we can move on to our next topic where, I mean, this story just gets weirder and weirder with Ohtani's ex-interpreter. So basically, I believe what happened was during the investigation. Now, this is a federal investigation, so you have to worry about baseball being a little underhanded here. Like, the feds are going to take this seriously. Like, supposedly Ohtani gave up his phone and everything. It was like, go through it, find what you can or whatever. And we learned some interesting things about old Mizuhara. The fact that he placed 19,000 bets in 2 years. Like, at that point, like, are you betting on like elementary school kickball or something? Like 19,000 bets? How do you find enough things to bet 19,000 times? And like some of the text messages he had between he and the bookie, where he was just like, "Oh yeah, I'm testing out this whole soccer thing and just putting bets down on it. So we're just betting on sports you know nothing about. Okay, that's a great way to win money. And then I think the story said something like he like mimicked Otani's voice to to the banks and everything for money, and it's just like for somebody who was supposedly Otani's friend, like this dude was shady as ever. And I guess he can face like 30 years for fraud and all this kind of stuff. I think there's like other people who are, I guess, going to go down with him. I don't know, like the bookie or whatever. So now, with what we learned today, does it change, I guess, your view on Otani's involvement? Does it change how you view this whole case? You know, do you think Mizuhara maybe is a fall guy or whatever is a bigger issue? Like, what are your thoughts on it based off of some of the things we learned today from the Ohtani report?
I just learned that Tiger Woods is not on today. That putt was bad. That putt was bad, wide right. We're sitting. He can maybe par this hole. He can maybe par it. He's sitting even right now. I was listening today. I can't remember what it was, 2 something and a cup of Joe or something like that. They're on Fox Sports Radio. They were in for Dan Patrick today. Dan Patrick takes vacation like every other week now with Danette. So he's always gone. I miss Dan when he's gone. But they were talking today, and they said that apparently he manipulated Ohtani into allowing him to have access to those bank accounts. So that story finally came out. Somehow, some way, he manipulated him into allowing that. And that's what actually allowed him to be able to have access and to be able to pull money with no question. I thought that was baffling. It really points me towards what is Shohei Ohtani like? Does he have no one else in this world? I just don't get it, right? Because somebody had to have said, like, hey, dude, like, maybe don't trust this guy. Like, I get he's your interpreter, but he's not like this guy has been all Shohei Ohtani for 15 years. This guy was trying to apply for multiple different jobs in the MLB to be an interpreter, and every single one of them turned him down. They said he looked fishy. He was fishy. We didn't like this guy. Something about him drove us away, and all of a sudden he got the job with Shohei Ohtani. So it's not like this guy was forever Shohei Ohtani's best friend. Mm-hmm. He was a couple years in with Ohtani there, and Ohtani, I mean, just gave him the bank. This whole thing doesn't make sense. There isn't a part of this that screams to me like this makes sense, unless if Shohei Ohtani just isn't. I don't want to say dumb because I feel like dumb is a mean word to use, but like not very intelligent with understanding that concept, because I know for me, even if I had millions of dollars, I would not trust somebody who has not been my lifelong friend or a family member or anything like that to have access to pull, withdraw, do anything with my bank account. I wouldn't let that. Even if I had millions of dollars to throw around, I wouldn't allow that. And yet he allowed it. He allowed this guy to manipulate him into doing these things. And the whole thing still seems fishy to me. It doesn't seem like we're getting the full story. And the feds did their investigation. Oh boy, right? I mean, the U.S. government stepped in and they said, this is how it's going to be. When I heard that, I was like, oh, okay, great. I mean, we could get into a political thing here, but we don't want to do that. But I mean, so when they came out with that, I was like, whoop-de-doo. They did an investigation. We figured what we already figured out. Shohei Ohtani was going to be, he's clean. Nothing happened on his end. This is all on the interpreter. And he's going to pay hefty fines and go to jail. That's basically all that's going to happen. So, I mean, still something fishy about this whole situation to me.
Yeah, because I saw that in the story as well, where you're talking about the manipulating, and it's like somehow the contact information was changed on the account to link it to Mizuhara and some odd email address that he had access to. And look, maybe it's like a Mike Tyson thing, because like you don't know Mike Tyson's story, like he was just so involved with fighting his opponents, that's all he cared about, that people were just dipping their hand in his money because he wasn't really thinking about the financial side of it. So maybe with Ohtani, he's like, look, new to the country, new to the league, learning things, I just want to play baseball. And Mizuhara might have been like, I got you. I got some business savvy from UC Riverside or whatever that I never went to. I got a degree. Don't worry about it.
A
And maybe
degree.
Otani was like, sure, you got this. And then he's just dipping his hand in there. Because I think there was like an agent or something who like approached, I think this is something that was in the report. Like an agent approached him and was like, what's this account? And Mizuhara was like, oh, don't worry about that. Otani, lets me, whatever. It's just like, it just seems like a guy who took advantage of somebody who maybe was just trying to be nice, try to be a good friend, and this guy just walked all over him. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. And the whole not betting on baseball with 19,000 bets in 2 years, I guess. Because I was thinking about this like when I was hearing the story. I was like, if I was gonna gamble, would I want to gamble on baseball? Like baseball is such an odd sport where weird things can happen. It could depend on the umpire one day if a pitcher's going to be on or off. Like, I feel like there's too many variables to really want to bet on baseball. So I was like, maybe he didn't do it. And then thinking about how he just bet on soccer off of a whim because I guess like the sport looked interesting. It's like this dude was like really into gambling. Like, I kind of want to know like what else did he just randomly gamble on? Like, was he gambling like high lie across the world or like what rugby? Other sports he knew nothing about? Like that's crazy to me. But I don't know.
I
But
mean,
yeah, Aaron, like, what do you think about all this?
no, I mean every time Trajan says like this is fishy, like it is. Like there's no other way to put that because if you look at this situation like from every angle, you got to and I know he didn't want to call him dumb, but like it's either Otani is completely like clueless on like he can't even log in to see his bank account and like the fact that I mean now it comes out that there's $16 million that was just gone out of his account over this period of time. Like, come on, man. Like, you can't tell me he didn't notice. Like, there's no one else advising him. There's no one else in his camp. Like, I just don't. I know he's from. He's not from America. He comes over here. Didn't even really know the language. I get all that. I'm not trying to like besmirch him in any way for any of that. It's just like there's got to be people surrounding him that look out for him. Like, and if he doesn't have that, I hope he learned like the hard way that he needs that because I mean, going forward, like there's just it's so hard to fathom that like yes, he could have been taken advantage of, but to like this scale and then to like for him not to be involved at any point, like maybe he caught word of this happening halfway through the process and then he started saying, "You know what? This is a good idea. Let's start gambling together." Like I wouldn't take it off the table that he's just Mr. Not even like I'm not gonna say he's a bad person, but Mr. Innocent here. Like I can't sit here and say like he has no involvement in this. He did no sports wagering himself. Like I just don't. That doesn't necessarily jive with me. And like to take that many bets and he have no idea that this is going on his behalf on his account or with his money, I should say that he's earning in the MLB. Like I just there you can't tell me some nights that they're like, let's just put in a prop bet for me to hit a home run. Let's throw $25,000 on it. Like I would find that hard to believe that they never once did that. If this guy is now gambling on stuff he has no idea about, why would they not just Shohei, let's put a little 25K on a home run tonight. It's plus 200. Let's see what we can do. Like he was kind of exploring every single avenue he could to try and I don't know if he was just a gambling addict and he came up a couple of times, maybe on Otani's behalf. Like maybe he took him for strikeouts or home run. Like we have no idea what the details of any of this are, but it's just I was talking on a podcast last night and it's so funny because we were kind of talking about how this was getting swept under the rug and then boom, today happens and it's like we're right back in the limelight with it. So I'm curious to see how it's going to pan out, but like Tragan said, I really think the MLB themselves are going to do everything they can to make Ohtani look innocent in this, no matter if he's guilty, innocent, or somewhere in between, because this is their golden child. Like this is their Patrick Mahomes. So it's like they don't want this to go to the wayside in a sport that they're trying to kind of stay as relevant as they can with the NFL just becoming an absolute monster and then other sports trying to, try and take the rest of the market share of it. So I just at the end of this case, I really don't think Otani's is in any trouble, even if he's done wrong, and we'll never know about it.
Well, and what we've heard multiple stories now of this thing. First, it was Ohtani was helping a friend. Now he was manipulated. Are we just going to bypass the first story that we were told that he was just helping a friend? That's what he thought he was doing, is he was just helping a friend with his problem. And now it's, oh, this guy had access to all my bank accounts. And now it's, oh, he manipulated me and he stole all this. I mean, we've heard 15 different sides of the story. When are we going to get one side? You know, if he was completely innocent, wash your hands clean, there was nothing wrong on his end, he would have released the same story multiple times. And when he did that press release, the thing that made it even more fishy to me was no cameras. I want no cameras in here, nothing. And that's what was like, dude, if you're innocent, why does it matter? Why can't you just say, I'm going to have a press today. Anybody can come. You want to be here? Be here. Whatever news station it is, you want to be there, be there. And I will tell you guys the same story over and over again. But it's not the same story over and over again. There's different bits and pieces that change. And that's where it's like, what's really going on? You know, I believe maybe he didn't gamble, but there's something that's missing from the story. There's a piece that he is not including in there, that he was involved, but to what extent? That's the thing that we're missing, is to what extent was Shohei Ohtani actually involved in this whole gambling scheme? That's what we need to hear. We'll never hear it because, like you said there, Aaron, the MLB is going to wash him clean. He's the golden boy. They'll probably juice the baseballs or something, have him hit like 90 home runs this year. Nobody will notice. He'll lead the Dodgers to the World Series. We won't notice, right? Because he's doing so good, nobody's going to notice. But people still notice. That's the thing, is these big organizations, the NFL, the MLB, no matter what it was, they do these little things where guys get in trouble, but they're going to do something in there that's going to make you forget. They think you're going to forget. Nobody forgets. Mm-hmm. We all sit here like this and we say to ourselves, what? You know, I forgot about the Ohtani thing for a while, but then it came out today. And it's going to keep coming out. People are going to talk about it. People are going to keep it in the news. And then finally something is going to break. It's going to, the truth always comes out. It's just a matter of when. And I hope this one does, because I am really interested to see what he was involved in.
Well, I mean, I guess the next step's going to be a court case of some sort. So now you got to have Mizuhara under oath. So who knows? He may drop some other nugget on this story.
I hope so. Spice it up.
Yeah, I mean, he at that point he's gonna have to kind of just let it all out because you're under oath, and if they find you, perjury and everything like that, that could just complicate, other issues for him legally, especially with all this fraud. A maximum of 30 years. That's a long time. And like when I think about this, you can kind of look at other sports because, there's been like Antoine Walker, who had a good career, got paid, then was led into like some thing like shady real estate business thing. He ended up losing a bunch of money. We've seen actors and stuff get caught up in, tax fraud and everything like that. And you always read stories like that, and you're just like, how do these guys not know like what's going on with their money? And who knows? Maybe they just get to a point where there's just so much of it, they kind of just, they appoint somebody and they're like, yeah, you just handle that. I'm gonna go do my thing over here. Just tell me when I have to sign something, and we're good to go. And maybe that's what this was with Ohtani. He and Mizuhara were tight. He was like, don't do any wrong by me. Have what you want. I'll toss you a couple dollars, for your well-being. And he might have just turned that into gambling, betting on whatever he could. Because I think the story said like he had like 140,000 in winnings and like 190,000 in losses and some other stuff. And it's just like, I mean, he probably hit once, kept going, started losing, hit another one, kept losing, which, you see in movies and stuff. That's all it takes for a gambler to hit once, feel like they got it all figured out, and they just find themselves in a deep hole. So I guess until the court case, I guess we just have to run with what we know from today. Until he gets on the stand, we learn more about that, and then he gets sentenced.
I hope it's Judge Judy. I hope we can watch Judge Judy. I think that'd be fantastic. Just on the random day, like 2:00 in the afternoon, we get an episode of Judge Judy, and it's just him up on the stand. Like, what just happened? Like, what is going on? The old people that watch Judge Judy will be like, who is this guy? Like, what is he here for?
Right. They're, usually tuning in for like, oh, this guy's has a kid with this lady and doesn't think it's his. And it's like, this dude's over here talking about gambling ring. And you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What am I watching today?
That was
so Judge Judy's like a real judge all of a sudden? We're doing real hardcore cases again? Like, what are we doing?
Well, like Kyle, if you not that this is the same issue because it's completely different, but like I remember when Rafael Palmeiro got up on the stand and was like, "I didn't do steroids, period." And then you had A-Rod coming out, "I never touched steroids." It's an insult that people would even like. All these guys deny, and then boom, they all come clean, and it looks so bad. Maybe like because Ohtani said I wasn't involved, but he hasn't come out and said like I'm completely innocent in this. Like it's not like he's come out like full circle and said I've done absolutely nothing. Like I haven't heard him say those exact words. So maybe they are his camp now is trying to take a different angle where it's like, well, we've seen all these guys just completely plead their innocence and say this, that, and the third, that they've never touched steroids, they've never thought about steroids, and then they all come out. Every single one of them that did that was found later guilty. So maybe they're just taking a different angle. Like, you know what? We're just kind of stay a little bit buttoned up over here. Let it play out. I really think Ohtani and the people that are involved with him are thinking the MLB will look out for us in this one. Like, I think they even know. Like, they'd be stupid to not know how much leverage they have over the game itself. This isn't like a third baseman for the Detroit Tigers that no one cares about. Like, this is like arguably the best player in baseball, and it's such a polar. Like he can, when he's healthy, he can pitch, he can play the field. Like this is just a generational talent, and it's like the MLB needs this guy. They almost need him. Like he's bigger than the game almost. Like he really is one of those guys where it's like if he got a lifetime suspension, that would be a huge deal for a lot of people, especially in these Asian countries that are probably tuning in large part because of him. Like I just, it's a weird, like we're nowhere close to like the end of this. That's the thing.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I said, we'll see when the court case happens if anything else comes from that. But go to our next topic where Jordan Montgomery, according to sources, is cutting off Scott Boras. And we talked about this during the free agency when he and Blake Snell and a lot of Scott Boras guys weren't signing. And Jordan Montgomery just signed not too long before the season started. He's probably looking at it, he's like 31 years old. So for him, he assumed he was probably going to capitalize off of the World Series, get a nice long contract, maybe be the last contract of his career. But instead, he had to sign a 1-year deal, almost like a prove it type deal, where at the age of 31, if this year doesn't go as planned, that's just going to affect his next contract. Maybe the length, dollar amount, and everything like that, and then it could really hurt him, I guess, at the bottom line. So the fact that Jordan Montgomery's come to this decision, are you expecting more Boras clients to kind of follow suit? Is this like the beginning of the end of Scott Boras, the super agent?
Yeah. I don't think all of them are going to drop him. I think a lot of them are going to try and hold true. I think Burns will wait. Burns will see what he does with Baltimore here and then what kind of contract he gets next. But I think that hinges a lot on what does his year look like in Baltimore. I mean, does he – because I know it as a Brewer fan, Burns doesn't show up in big games. He doesn't. When it comes down to a big game, Burns, he honestly stinks. That's just plain and simple how it was. When we got to big games as Brewer fans, I would have rather had Brandon Woodruff on the mound over Corbin Burns. I'm not saying Burns isn't a good pitcher. I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. He's a great, phenomenal pitcher. Won the Cy Young. But when it came to big games, he wasn't the guy. And I think that's going to hinge a lot on his decision to stick with Scott Boras. But you look at the likes of like Bellinger and Matt Chapman and those other guys, I could see a couple more of them following suit, saying, you tried to get me X amount of dollars. yeah, was it nice that you believed in me? Sure, it was fantastic. But these MLB teams are getting smarter. Like we talked about in free agency, they're smarter. They understand it. And they, yeah, Dak Prescott. That was good. I love that. I love that. But yeah, I mean, I could see a couple of those guys dropping them. I don't think all of them will. You know, Blake Snell, he seems like the guy who's always pushing for the top dollar. I mean, they're all pushing for top dollar, right?
Mhm.
But I think Blake Snell's kind of a guy who thinks he's better than what he really is. I've never seen Blake Snell as, you know, the number one guy in the league, but sure, he loves to think that he is, right? And Matt Chapman, third baseman, I never saw him as that good. I mean, he's a good third baseman. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's not good. I don't want to twist my words there. He's good, but he's not the top third baseman in the league. And he was expecting big money. Bellinger goes to Chicago. He has one good year, and he comes out of there thinking, I want him, 5 years, over 200 million. And it's like, dude, you had one good year. It was one good year coming out of Chicago. That could change in a hurry, right? So I just think it's more or less the unrealistic portion of Scott Boras that really drives me up a wall. Is that he takes guys who have one good year, like Cody Bellinger did. And I'm not saying Bellinger isn't a good player, but he struggled with the Dodgers. He came to Chicago, had one good year, and now he wants top dollar. Like he just changed his whole career. That could change. I mean, just say he went to the Red Sox, right? Cody Bellinger goes to the Red Sox. He goes back to that 200 hitter because something about Chicago, something about the hitting coaches there. I mean, so I could see a lot. To wrap it up with what I was saying, I went a little off there, but to wrap it up, I mean, I could see some of the guys just like Jordan Montgomery did dropping Scott Boras here. Maybe not right away, but in the next couple years.
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like sometimes it's like Boris just you gotta push the envelope, but he pushes it so far that I think he gets teams to check out. Like the Yankees were all in on, and I'm glad. I couldn't be more happy that Blake Snell didn't. As much as like I'm not the biggest, like I don't think Blake Snell's this almighty top 3 pitcher in the league like some people think he is. But him on the Yankees, that probably makes them better. Like honestly, and I'm glad he didn't end up there, but from all the reports, like he had a big year contract and a big money contract, and excuse me, and Boris just kept pushing the envelope. Like, let's get more money. Let's get money. It's like at some point, I mean, like these guys you're not going to get a guy to sign $75 million a year. Like, I don't understand. Like at some point you got to kind of take a step back and say, you know what, this is a good deal. We should probably act on this before the Yankees go elsewhere with their money or the Dodgers go elsewhere. Or like, I just think there's and like you would think Boris would know this, like within negotiating, you're always going to come in high. Yeah, of course. But he's almost like he comes in astronomically high. The team comes back with the counter offer, and then he comes in astronomically high again. It's like, well, no, we're not. There's no middle ground now because from all like he pushed the envelope for Chapman time and time again. He didn't get what he wanted. He pushed the envelope for Snell. Snell only got 2 years. Like I don't think Blake Snell went into this offseason looking for a 2-year contract. Montgomery, like you said, he gets a prove it deal after winning being an important piece to a World Series winning team. Like it just every move that Boris made this offseason was almost like a step backwards for all his clients, in my opinion. And I mean, I would have fired him like after, because I'm sure like maybe Blake Snell went to him and been like, "Hey, we should take this Yankees deal. Like I like this deal." And Boris is like, no, hold on, let me keep working on this. I'll get you something better. And then boom, you get something significantly worse. So maybe Boris learns from this. Maybe he doesn't, but I mean, you kind of have to learn at some point, take what's given to you. Like we saw the Lions in the playoffs. Take what's given to you. Take some points every once in a while. Not go for 2 every single time, or not go for it on 4th every single time. It's the same thing applies here, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know if people tuning in are fans of Austin Powers or whatever, but it's like the scene with Dr. Evil. He's like, I think it's like when he just was unfrozen, he's like holding the country hostage or whatever, and they're like, "How much are you looking for a ransom?" He's just like, after he says like $1 million, and they just laughed in his face. He's like 100 bajillion gajillion dollars, and everyone's like, "Dude, you're not even serious. Like that's not even a real amount." It's almost like that's what Scott Boras has become. He treats all of his clients like, "Oh, I'll get you 10 years and 450 million," and teams are like, "We'll give you 6 and 120." He's like, "Oh, come on, what are you? Now you're just playing with me." And then his clients are there like, I mean, 6 and 120 is not terrible. It's not the best we could do, but it beats 1 in like 25. But I feel like Scott Boras is gonna, probably continue to operate the way he does because for him, for as many years as he's kind of been in the game, he probably thinks, "Oh, this is just the one odd off season. Next, he will be knocking down my door for my clients again, and I'll take some of these teams for what it is. I'll get them to overpay for all of you. Don't worry about it." So maybe it takes a couple of years of this kind of operation that he maybe decides to change how he goes about things. Because, I mean, I don't know any other agent who's had the kind of offseason that he did. Like, he had all of the big name guys basically. Well, not all of them, because, there was like Yamamoto and some of those guys, but he had a lot of them. And the fact that all of them were hanging around with their hands in their pockets, like, so when do we get paid? And the fact that like Snell and Montgomery signed like the day before opening day, basically, it's like that's a joke. You can't have your top stars hanging around that long as free agents. So I don't know. It's hilarious to me, but it's kind of sad. Like, you feel bad for the players that it's like they just want to play. Give me a contract. Let's just go. And the agent's like, "No, I'll get you more," and then it never happens. As Jory said, sounds like a bad, greedy, selfish agent. Well, yeah, because the more he gets you as a player, the more goes in his pocket. But
I don't know. I don't get how at some point you don't see it like, all right, didn't it, like every single guy he went after, like he went for the big, long term, massive contract, and like really none of them got it. And it's like, how do you, like you said, Kyle? Maybe it takes a couple off seasons, but how many of these guys are gonna say, I'm gonna take my services elsewhere? I see this agent just doing a better job. Like, at this point, how good is Boras compared to the pool of agents that are available? That's what I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I will say the Orioles Red Sox went to extra innings, and Gunnar Henderson hit a 2-run homer. So looks like a sleep-ahead in my Red Sox way. Only because the Orioles, like, I can't be mad. Like, I root for the Orioles to do well, but
all right,
sweep.
Woods is going for birdie on the 15th now. He's going for birdie. 1 under. We're back to 1 under. Yep. We're sitting solid. We can make the cut. We're gonna make
treading
the cut.
water.
Woods, make it to the weekend.
If he makes it through the weekend, that's something. That's something to hang your hat on right there.
Yep.
So I had one.
You saw him. He bow out with like a back injury or something, kind of slowly drift away. But if he makes it through the whole tournament, count it as a win.
I had one for you guys. I had a question for you.
Okay.
So I saw the MLB did a top rivalries in the MLB right now, and they did a list, top 5. And I just wanted to know what you guys thought of the top 5, because I found some of these to be to me, and there was bigger rivalries out there. So number 1, they have the Phillies and the Braves. Number 2, they have the Yankees and the Astros. Number 3, Padres and Dodgers. Number 4 was Rangers and Astros. And number 5 was Red Sox and Yankees. First off, to me, the Yankees hate the Astros. The Astros don't give a shit about the Yankees. Like, that is a one-way rivalry. Like, Yankee fans hate Astro fans. Astro fans don't care. Like, this whole thing is like, nobody cares anymore. The only ones who care are the Yankees. For some unknown reason, they still care. So that one baffled me. I think the Phillies and Braves one, I like. I don't know if it's number 1, but I like that one. That's a good one. Padres and Dodgers are Like, is it a rivalry?
Cares about the Padres.
Probably, but nobody cares. Like, you could have put the Giants and Dodgers on there first. So, I mean, I don't know about that one.
I'd rather say Dodgers Giants over Dodgers Padres.
Yeah, 100%. And then you got the Rangers and the Astros. I mean, maybe in-state rivals. I don't know. Like I don't. It's not like they put it on ES. Damn, Tiger Woods got par. I look away for 5 seconds. He gets par. He's sitting at 1 under though. We're good. We're good. We're good. Rangers and Astros. I mean, yeah, in-state rivals. That's about it. But then the Red Sox and Yankees. That one I believe should be higher. I mean, that one's one of the oldest rivalries, right? But the Cubs and the Cardinals, like that's a rivalry to me that's been around for a while. The Brewers and Cubs, like Cub fans hate Brewer fans. Brewer fans hate the Cubs. And now that Craig Counsell's down there, I think that rivalry is even bigger now. So like you have those two. I don't know. I wanted to see what you guys thought of that list.
Yeah, like I said, I would rather have Dodgers Giants over the Padres. I mean, Red Sox Yankees. That's always going to be a thing, even if both teams are bad, one's bad. It's just the history of it. I am a little surprised that the Cubs aren't involved in some way as one of another like older team, and Cubs Cardinals seems to make the most sense. I mean, the rest of the list, like Braves Phillies, yeah, I agree with that one. That one definitely should be up there. I mean, it's not a terrible list, but yeah, I definitely would replace a couple of them. I feel like they had a good
Brewers and Mets now. Now that we got Rhys Hoskins, that's a rivalry.
They should put Yelich versus Trajan.
Yelich versus Trajan. I am the reason why he's hitting good right now. I feel like every time I talk shit about him, it's like bomb. Last night, sitting on the couch downstairs, the wife loves Christian Yelich. I hate him with a passion. So we're talking about it. We're sitting there, and I was like, God, he sucks. He sucks. All of a sudden, boom, gone. I'm like, I do it for him. He hears me, and he's just like, watch this shit. Boom, gone.
So George said, what's the other one? So I guess go through the list one more time.
Phillies, Braves, Yankees, Astros, Padres, Dodgers, Rangers, Astros, and then Red Sox, Yankees. That was the top 5. The other, I mean, they only did
Yankees Astros 5. Is a joke.
It's a one-way street.
Every time the playoffs. What kind of rivalry is that?
Yeah, it's a one-way street. Astros don't care. They could give a shit less. It's the New York Yankees. They don't care. Like
that's the thing. Like, I mean, I don't know. The rivalries have kind of like Kyle. You can speak to this. Like when the Yankees and like, I mean, I'll never forget the time like A-Rod. Obviously, we all know what A-Rod was saying. F you to Veritek, and then it was just like, okay, here we go, like ding ding ding, like it was. I mean, that was like baseball brawls at its finest. Like that. That's
what was the one recently. Yankees and Astros, or not Yankees and Astros, Yankees and Red Sox. What was that fight that was recent? They had the dive play at second base, and then I believe something happened there, and they got into a scuffle, and then somebody got hit by a pitch. It was like number 28 from the Yankees or something. Red Sox hit him, and then there was a brawl that happened. He broke the bat, and then he took off for the mound, and then there was the fight. I can't remember that one now.
I'm drawing a complete
I'll look it up.
blank on that one.
I feel like ever since A-Rod retired, it like hasn't had that same, because A-Rod was just so polarizing, like love him or hate him. Like he came to Boston, and it was like we absolutely hate this guy. Like every fan in that stadium would be booing it. Like it was just, you could hear it through the TV. Like it was unlike any other. And like, I get Phillies and Braves. It's not like when they play each other though, there's going to be a bench clearing. Like when I watch those games, there's never a moment where I'm like, yeah, they want to beat each other and like show up each other. But like, I would almost say, I'm not going to go there yet, but if the Brewers and Mets, if Hoskins, like for the rest of the year, just like they play the Mets again, I don't even know if they do. And like McNeil's out there, and it's just like, all right, here we go again. Like it's just drama, because the Mets are the big. I really do think the Mets right now are the biggest crybaby team in the major leagues, and it's just like that could turn into something, maybe like a temporary rivalry. Because like let's say Rhys Hoskins signed somewhere else next year, unfortunately for Trajan maybe, but it's like that rivalry probably just goes to the wayside. But like you said, Kyle, like Red Sox Yankees is forever, but it doesn't have that same like pop to it like it used to be. And I just, not to say all people in sports, because like I remember watching Tom Brady. He's like, oh, everybody's friends with everybody now. Like, Josh Allen's friends with Mahomes. Mahomes is friends with Joe Burrow. Like, they're all buddy. Like, when I was in the league, I hated everybody. It's like, and I get that. Like, we probably lost that. Like, Michael Jordan had that killer instinct. LeBron doesn't go out there and try and murder people. Like, it's just not the same mindset, not the same type of players. But yeah, like that is an interesting one. Baseball, for example, it's like Cubs and Cardinals. Like, yeah, it's still like the people from Chicago and the people from St. Louis can't stand the blue or the red or whatever it is. But it's like, do the players, like, do we really see? I don't know. It's just we don't see it on a large scale like how it used to be. Like, you remember when Pedro Martinez like threw down that guy on the, like, he literally took his head and threw that Yankees guy down to the ground. He's like 80 years old, like could have killed him. And like, you don't see like that type of stuff. It's that Brewers Mets was like very close to about as intense as we see it now. Like, if Rhys Hoskins was even more of a little bit more of a red ass, he should have just knocked McNeil on his behind, and then it would have been, because McNeil is screaming in his face, and Hoskins is like, whatever, man, like, you're a crybaby, like that's all you are. That's all you'll ever be. So I don't know.
You need the Rougned Odor and Bautista.
Oh, that was
That was a great one. They're just standing there, second base, talking. Odor just launches with that like elbow to the face, and it's like, that's where you get the rivalries going. Because, like I said, that Red Sox Yankees one was more about the people involved: Pedro, Veritek, A Rod, Kareem Garcia, who was just a random guy, but he got involved in it with Pedro. That's what definitely builds that stuff. Like Cubs Cardinals, that's like ingrained in family history. But on a national level, it's not it's probably not as big as other ones. Like, that's like within the Midwest territory of those two cities. Yeah, if a Cardinals fan walked down the street in Chicago, they would probably catch something for it. But you're not going to necessarily know that on a grand national scale. So I
Nobody
think
walks in
baseball
Chicago,
probably would
Kyle.
want
You
to
gotta
get some
avoid
of those
walk.
rivalries back, though, because that's
You
actually
gotta
good for the
avoid
sport.
walk. I found it though. I found it. It was in 2018. It was Joe Kelly and Tyler Austin. Tyler
Oh yeah,
Austin
Joe Kelly was great.
He
Yeah.
slid cleat first into second base, hit Brock Holt, and then it started a little scuffle. The benches cleared, and then everybody went back. Not a fight yet. And then it came when Joe Kelly came out to the mound. He hit Tyler Austin, and then Austin started the brawl with Joe Kelly there. Benches cleared again. I don't know who won that game. I think the Red Sox actually. No, the Red Sox lost. The Red Sox did lose that game. They had a 9-game win streak before that one. They lost that game there. But hey, there's your rivalry right there. We need somebody to hit somebody else. That's what needs to happen here.
See, Kyle, because Joe Kelly played for your team. Like, I always thought Joe Kelly was that guy that he'll start the fight, but he won't, like, he'll make everybody else get involved, and he'll just be like he wants the fight to happen, but he's not going to be in the middle. He's not going to catch any punches. And it's like, I kind of hate him for that. Like, I kind of resent, because he would always be stirring the pot and like doing the cold crybaby thing when somebody's complaining. And I'm like, dude, you would get knocked. Like, you would get your head would get knocked off your body if you actually stood toe to toe with some of these guys. Like, I get the moxie that he can. All these bullpen guys have some screw loose or something. You got to be kind of inserted in the middle of a game and just get out of jams and everything else. But man, Joe Kelly, like, that guy always rubbed me the wrong. Like, I just was like, enough, man, enough. Like, I don't know.
It's not like Nolan Ryan. It's not like Nolan Ryan where he's like,
take care of it.
Just come out here. Let's do it. Let's get her done.
Nolan
And
Ryan was doing that at like
back.
45.
They put that. I was bidding on a baseball card. There's a baseball card they made with that scene on it with him punching him. And they had that on a baseball card. I was like, I need this. I will frame this son of a gun. Like, it might not be worth anything, but I'll frame it and put it up on the wall. Like, it was just so cool to see something like that on a baseball card.
Yeah. I mean, look, well, I mean, I guess the larger point is, with like AAU culture, travel teams, a lot of these guys end up being teammates and growing up with each other when they're young, so they get to the league. that friendship's just there. That's why I respect like Giannis, because Giannis is like a throwback where he steps on the court, you're not wearing his jersey, he doesn't like you, and his guys he'll stand up for, but all the other ones he's trying to do damage to them. So I can respect that mentality. But then again, like the other side is, it's a game. Life happens. If you want to be friends with them, whatever. But for the fan, like you or I, it's like you want that hatred because you feel like the players will go harder. They'll make sure to execute better. The game will be better. But I don't know. You can't necessarily force these guys to hate each other. But
no, it's like the downfall of the All-Star games is caused by that, though. The non-competitive edge.
Sure.
I mean, look at the NBA All-Star game. It used to be like Kobe Bryant would show up. I'm going to shut down this guy. This game means absolutely nothing, but I'm going to shut this guy down because I just dislike him. Or Michael Jordan was the same way. I mean, I'm going to shut this guy down because I just hate this guy. Now it's like, you can throw it down. You can throw it down. Here, I'll give you the ball to throw it down. Like, like you said, I mean, it's a lack of competitiveness is basically all that it is. Like you said, it's a game, but at the end of the day, is it? I mean, it's like it's a game, but it's not. You're still playing for something, yet you take like these days off and you take plays off because you're talking to this guy and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, that's kind of all you can say for today's athlete. I don't know.
Pretty
Why
much.
is it not like the 80s and 90s? I don't know.
LeBron James. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bronny Jr. I don't know.
Oh gosh, don't even get me
Exactly.
started on that. I don't even want to talk about that. If he makes the league, Caitlin Clark can go to the Pistons. That's all I know.
I mean, somebody's gonna draft him. You know that.
He'll sit the bench like Thanasis on LeBron's team, and we'll have to hear about it all year long. There's Bronny on the bench. Yay, woohoo. Bron got to play with his kid. Now he can retire. We can get rid of it, and we can be done with LeBron James. I'm done with it.
So you probably should root for it then. If Bronny comes in the league, they're here together, then LeBron leaves because he's like, I did it. There you go.
Can you imagine though if Go ahead, Trey.
I was just hoping the NBA teams would just be like, dude, we're done with you. Just go away. We're done. Just.
But I could see like a team drafting Bronny and like they bench him, and LeBron's just in the media like, you can't bench my son. Like you're gonna bench one of the greatest players' sons of all time. Like this is crazy, man. And like he'll make it to where it's like, it's a bad PR move to bench Bronny. So like Bronny will be playing. Like he'll be like I don't think he'll start, but like he'll be, on the second rotation in, and it's like everybody in the league knows he shouldn't be. Like I was almost thinking about that last night with like Jackson Holiday. I'm like, what if these other guys in the Orioles are like, man, screw this guy. Like he's been on a golden platter because of his dad his whole life. We had to grind. I'm not to say Jackson Holiday didn't grind to get there, but
right.
You know what I mean? It has a different feel to it when your dad, you were in MLB clubhouses, since you were in diapers. Like, I'm not saying, you still got to be amazing to get there. It's not like the kid was just handed, but like Bronny, it's like, does he have to be amazing to get there? Probably not. Cause he's not like, he's just not. So what do we do with that?
That definitely makes sense. Like if you're a guy who's fighting for the same position as Jackson Holiday, you see the team take over you, maybe it crosses your mind like, well, I wonder if my last name was Holiday, would they have called me up instead of him? I feel like I'm better than he is at the plate. I'm better in the field, but they're taking him up. I feel like that's just human nature. And like, I know we have like only a few minutes left. I did want to say, shout out to the Royals for sweeping the Astros and continuing this early season hot streak for them. Maybe Royals fans might be in for another magical run, like what was it, a couple of years ago when they got the World Series and nobody saw it coming.
Dude, did you see the roster when they got the World Series? When they got the World Series and nobody was ready for it, did you see the roster that they had built up? They were the All-Star game. That was all of them. The whole team was on there. It was all Royals and then Mike Trout in center field. That was the whole All-Star team.
I know, yeah.
Yep. And it wasn't like, everybody makes fun of that, but you look at the actual roster that the Royals had, and it's like some of those guys were actually like legit all-stars. Like they could have been on that team. So, I mean, it's a hot start, but it's like the Pirates' hot start. It's like, a couple of these other teams. I mean, the Angels have started out technically well in the West out there. I believe they're still near the top of the West. I thought so. Last time I looked, they were still near the top. So, I mean, you look at them and a couple of these other teams, it's like they're going to cool off. It's just a matter of when. When does the actual season start and some of these, like the Astros, figure out how to win games? Because we know they're going to win games. It's just when.
Yeah, Kyle, I think the Royals are a Pirates 2.0 situation. Like, I just
was
don't.
trying to show some love to Kansas City.
Hey, I love
nice
their jerseys.
ballpark. The team
World Series,
run like
Pirates,
a double-A team.
Royals. Pirates,
Like-
Royals World Series.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I really wouldn't. But
I
it's
wouldn't care.
like, trust me, as corny as it is, like jerseys matter to me. I love the Royals jersey. Like those blues are just, I love them. I would buy one just for that simple fact. Stadium's awesome. Like it has a waterfall. Like why not? And then, but like, come on, man. Like this team is just they're hot right now. They'll finish 18 and a half games out of first place. Like I
hope no Royals fans are watching because you just completely crushed their
whole
season.
Man. I don't think
they're 9-4, half game behind the Guardians, and you're coming on here already.
Kyle, you know it.
Middle of April, telling them you're going to finish 18 and a half games out of first place.
You know it as much as I do. The 29 teams are not going to win the World Series, and I would bet my life. You can take me out to the field and shoot me if they're the team that wins the World Series, because it's not going to happen. Like it's just they can enjoy it while they can, but that's all. That's exactly what while you can, because I don't know. Like we were having that conversation last night on the podcast. Do you try to enjoy it as much as possible? Like if you're a Pirates fan right now, are you enjoying this, or are you just like, oh, when are we going to crash and burn? Like what type of attitude do you have about if you're 9-4 right now, but you're consistently do this and then fall to the wayside, same result, same ownership, everything. Like just.
No, that's a good question. Like if you were a fan of a team like that, like what is your mentality opening day every year? Are you just like going into it like, well, who's the new prospect I'll, get attached to and follow? Or is it just that, oh, they started off really well and I'm just going to enjoy it for what it is? Or like you said,
you really got to love baseball.
Yeah.
You really got to love baseball to say, let me look at this prospect. You know what I mean? Like, and no, like,
right.
That's not trying to be disrespectful to these people, but it's like when you know your team's not going to do it, because I've seen it. Like, I've lived it for so many, and I'm like, here we go. Like, I expect them to suck. They're going to suck, and they suck. And, like, it's like I can get excited watching an individual player, but it's like, when is it our turn to be like the Astros? Look at the Astros. Like 10 years ago, they were the worst team in baseball. Like they were a laughingstock. They were winning 50 games a year, and like they found a way to, become almost nearly a dynasty. One of the best teams in baseball. And it's like their fans had probably no faith back then, but it does. It takes a lot. Like baseball is survival of the fittest. Like you're talking 162 games.
What would you rather be, though? The team that has the success but always gets bounced? Because, I mean, I'm talking as a Brewer fan here, right? We're always there. I mean, you can expect end of the year, the Brewers, right, as of late, will be there. We're either going to be in first in the division, we're going to be in the wild card race, we're going to sneak into the playoffs, right? But 9 times out of 10, and every year we lose to the World Series, either runner-up or champ. I mean, it's just statistically known. So, I mean, would you rather be that team, or would you rather be like the Pirates, who you have a good start to the year, you see it all well, and then you just know it's going to happen, so you get over it? Like, I mean, I went through the years of the Brewers where you knew you were going to suck. All you had left was Ryan Braun. Everybody else was gone. You knew you were going to suck, so you just got over it. I mean, what side of the fence would you rather be on?
I mean, I would take the playoff appearances at least because
It
at
gets
least it's
old,
all.
my friend. Trust me, it gets old.
I know, but so does being happy in April
You've
and
won the
miserable
World
by
Series.
May.
Shut up.
Trajan, would you here? Because here's how I look at that. Like,
I want to
would you-
win one and then just be done. I can be
That's
done for the rest.
Okay.
That's exactly how I feel about like when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Everybody clowns me still because everybody that I'm friends with has Steelers fans, Patriots. Everybody has like infinite amount of rings more than the Eagles. But I'm like, look, we got ours. Like, and then people say, "Oh, I was lucky. You had your backup." Like, there's always 8 million. Then sure, we probably had a fluke Super Bowl because we shouldn't like how the things happened for it for us to win. It was like you probably couldn't have run that back, and that same result would have happened. We probably would have got smoked or something. Something else would have went wrong. But it's like I'll take that one Super Bowl, and if we were like 4-12 the next 10 years, I'll take that one Super Bowl on because like I watch Penn State every year, 10-2, 10-2, 10-2. Nothing. Can't beat Michigan, can't beat Ohio State, can't win the Big Ten. Like, what's 10-2 good for? It does me nothing. It gets me hopeful. All to be like now I expect it. Now I've like conditioned my brain to be like, okay, we're gonna go 10-2 again. Like it's just, and like that's now you're in the middle of just a rock and a hard place because you're not good enough to be that team, but you're not crappy enough to be like, okay, we gotta reset everything. Even though I would try and reset everything when you see the same result year in and year out, but I would hate to be like Trajan's point. Like it's just you're a good team. It's just like why are we not a great team? And like it's year in and year out of that. That's demoralizing to a fan base because it's like it just feels like this is our ceiling and we're never gonna crack through that. That's we're stuck.
Well, and the only thing I can chalk it up to is the no salary cap in baseball. It puts the Brewers are playing this game, which they do it very well, but it also ticks me off. They said a couple years ago, we're taking as many bites at the apple as we can, right? So we're going to stay competitive. We're going to stay competitive every single year, but we're not going to go that extra mile, right? We're not going to do that little bit extra that's going to put us over the top. Sign that big name pitcher or trade for that guy. We're going to stay stagnant. We're going to get you 90 wins. But then in the playoffs, we're going to run out of gas. We won't have that starting pitcher. We won't have that RBI guy, the home run guy in the middle of the lineup. And that's what kills the Brewers every single year is they're not the team. They stay competitive, which is nice, but it's also like one time I just want to see the Brewers say screw it and just go all in. Like I thought they were going to do it this year when they got Rhys Hoskins. We still had Burns. I was like, I thought it was a rebuild. Nope, we're going for it. This seems like a go for it kind of thing. Then we trade away Burns, and it's like, what are we doing? Like, are we in a rebuild right now? But it's that same thing. We got DL Hall back. We're going to use him as we want to build this guy up and potentially have him be a dominant starter. Joey Ortiz has been playing well for the Brewers. They want to see him, but it's a developmental program with the Brewers. We get guys ready. They get out of their contracts. They want more money. We ship them out the door. And it's just a year after year thing where we can afford maybe right now we got Yelich and Churro both on big contracts. After that, not so big contracts. So when Rhys Hoskins hits good this year, he wants more money. He's gone. I mean, he's just going to bounce out of town. That's just how it is for Milwaukee. And that's what sucks. That's the thing that sucks every single year is you don't, like you were saying there, Aaron, you don't expect them to do anything with it. They're just going to let the guy walk. They're just going to say, yep, I mean, we don't have a shot in this. Like, it's almost like, you look at the Shohei Ohtani thing, and I know the Brewers had no shot. That doesn't, like, I'm not saying the Brewers would have got him, but you don't even have a team like that in the conversation. There was only a select few teams who could be in that conversation. And that's where baseball has really failed with no salary cap, is that Shohei Ohtani really only had a list of, like, 5 teams that could technically afford him, and then one team that was going to go extra to get him in the door. And other teams couldn't even look that way. Like, you would want, if the best available guy goes on the free agent market, you would want every team to be able to pick up the phone and say, how can I get you here? But teams can't. They can't. I mean, there was 25 teams that couldn't even look at that. They were like, oh, Shohei Ohtani's a free agent. Okay. And they just set their phone down. Like, nothing. Like, there's nothing we can do to get him. And I think that's a big problem, is that they can't even look that direction.
I couldn't agree more. And like
I know we're getting long winded here, but it's like you made. That's exactly how I feel about it. And then all these people will try and convince you. Well, look at the Rays; they do it without. Okay, they still don't want a World Series though. Like they can get there, but like look at look at the Diamondbacks, and then look what the Rangers did as far as acquisitions. I mean, trade deadline, they go out and get Scherzer, they bring in Montgomery, like all these moves, and like that propels them to the top. Like I was watching the Orioles play the Rangers in the first round, and I get the Orioles, like this is a baby team, they're all like wet behind the ears, but like I was like they have no shot. Like they have Corey Seager just hitting 500-foot home runs. They've at like 5 great starters. Like it's just like that's another example of like, okay, this is David and Goliath again. Like it's just how much like in baseball, especially like Tragan said, if every team had a fair opportunity to go get Ohtani, like what if the Pittsburgh Pirates go get Ohtani? Like that just shit. Like we see it in the NFL all the time. The Steelers go get Justin Fields. The Steelers go get Russell Wilson. Like this guy goes there. Peyton Manning goes to the Broncos at the end of his career. Like there's just so much movement of like great players to organizations you would have never thought would have had. Like not that Kirk Cousins is great, but like now he's a fucking who would have 2 years ago who would have saw that coming? It's just like baseball. It's like, oh, Otani's a free agent. Let's just say in 3 years. Oh, I could see the Yankees being involved. I could see the Dodgers being involved. I could see. Like a couple other teams having a fringe chance, like the Seattle Mariners, and they probably still didn't have that great of a chance when it came down to who's giving them the big money contract. Like it is definitely 1,000% a problem for baseball, and I don't understand why. Like the NHL to me does it perfect. They have a salary floor and a salary ceiling. Like make that a thing in baseball. You have to spend this much and you can't go over that much. Like because the Mets next offseason are probably going to go insane and outbid everybody because they don't want to have a down season this year, but their owner was like, we're not going for it this year. We're going to kind of put all eggs in the next year off season's basket. And like, what if they just go out and get Soto and they go out and get like all these huge name free agents, and now the Mets are that team, and not to say they'll win anything, but it's like, okay, why weren't the Red Sox weren't involved? Why weren't the Brewers involved? Like you have all these other teams that have realistically no chance when you have an owner that's going to write blank checks to these guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of that is, as we're going to prepare to get out of here, the way the leagues market themselves. What does the NFL market itself with? Parity. So because of that, that's why you see guys go, teams go worst to first. Look at the Texans last year compared to the year before. The NFL celebrates that. Major League Baseball is all about traditional powers, the big markets. That's what they want all their stars in New York, LA, Boston, Chicago, whatever. That's what they want. That's how they market themselves. Basketball markets itself as like a players' league. So if you're going to have the players running things, they're just going to team up and meet up wherever they want to. So it's all about how, like, the perception of your competition. That's probably why the NFL is, king over those two, because the fact that fan bases of bad teams know the turnaround is pretty quick. Whereas baseball, if you're bad, you're probably bad for like 10, 15 years, and then your fan base just grows old, miserable, wondering when is the front office changed? Possibly then we might do something. But none of the front office has changed. They just business as usual. So I do think that's a big part of why baseball is viewed as it is compared to the NFL. NFL celebrates worst to first. Baseball's like, no, we need brand names at the top. Dodgers, Red Sox, Yankees, Cubs. That's what we need. Pirates, Royals, if they're bad, who cares?
They
They're in
probably
the middle
hated
of
the
nowhere,
fact they hated the fact that the Diamondbacks made it. Like I'm sure.
Yeah, they would have loved to see
Yeah,
Dodgers or Mets or somebody like that.
Even
Diamondbacks.
Philadelphia, yeah, like
Yeah.
big market. Like another, it's just
Yeah. Well,
they need to fix it. Need to fix
exactly. I feel like, this is a conversation that we could probably roll into next week's show because baseball's not a perfect sport. There's plenty of things wrong with it.
It was perfect. They put a pitch clock in. And widen the bases and made the base path bigger and pick off moves. And I can keep going. I can keep going all night long. It was perfect.
They brought in fences at certain ballparks. Like they've done all kinds of things. Yeah.
They put a green monster up at Fenway. What the hell was that?
Yeah, but that thing's like that was there from day one. That's fine. Don't worry.
100 years old.
Sorry. The ivy at Chicago is just stupid. I mean, it's brown for the first 15 weeks of the season. Like, what the hell is that?
Well, how did this is how you can tell baseball plays favoritism is I'm not saying the Orioles or the Brewers or any of these other teams could have made a right field wall that's 300 feet, but they probably didn't because whoever the owner was at the time was we're just gonna build a stadium that's pleasing to the eye. But the Yankees are oh, we'll do anything to win, even if that makes we'll just get a ton of left-handed bats and make it look like a minor league stadium in right field and just pop home runs. And MLB is we'll tip our cap to you. You're the Yankees. You're the most successful franchise going away by far. That's fine. You can do whatever. It's just I just that type of stuff rubs me the wrong. And yes, I'm a Yankees hater, but come on, that's to make a stadium.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah,
every basketball court, same dimensions. Every football field, same dimensions. Only in baseball are you allowed to fudge with the numbers. You can have some ballpark where it's 350 to right center. Another one
the Giants
25. Yeah, you look at the Giants ballpark, it's how do guys hit anything out of here?
Yeah.
They managed to. Maybe not at the rate of, Yankees do at Yankee Stadium, but it's
not even
yeah,
close.
it's not a competitive advantage. Some of the home runs in Yankee Stadium to right are a joke. It's a pop fly, gets into the first row. If you're an outfielder, you're probably just are you serious?
The
and
wind
the pitchers have to be furious by that too.
All stadium dimensions should be like polo grounds. Just make it all like polo grounds. 200 down the line, 600 in dead center. Let her ride, baby. Let her ride.
Well, if they want the game higher scoring, maybe every stadium will look like Yankee Stadium one day. That's what I've watched all these baseball podcasts recently, and everybody's saying the MLB wants these games 6, 7, 8, 7, 9, 6. I don't know.
I hate that. I really do.
That's going completely away from the traditional view of we want pitchers duels, we want no hitters, we want 1-0. Just this guy's striking out 15 guys and this guy's striking out 13, and they're just going back and forth. I don't know. It's
baseball, but I feel that's a good spot to end tonight's episode. Like I said, we'll definitely continue this next week. So appreciate everybody in the chat. Those of you who may watch after the fact, definitely appreciate you as well. Make sure make your comments known if you do watch it later on about what we talked about. How you feel about Mizuhara, how you feel about Jordan Montgomery, our talk about baseball stadiums, which ones you like, which ones you hate. Talk about that in the comments as well. So for myself, Aaron from Brutally Honest Sports, Trajan from Wisconsin Sports on the Go, I'm Kyle Edwards, chomping at the bit if you want to find me. This is the Bases Loaded podcast. We're here every Thursday night, 9:15. We go for an hour or so. Just kind of see how long the fun goes before we get tired of ourselves. But definitely appreciate you. Make sure you like and subscribe to the network, Integrity Sports Network. A lot of great things going on over here. Appreciate all of you. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you next week. We are out of here.